All right. I think I'm live. Hey guys, yeah, people are joining us now. Let me give you a very, very brief introduction to myself and August Academy, and then I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Again, this is being streamed live, so you may choose to think about what you wish to share and what you don't wish to share, right? About myself, my name is Karthik. I'm an alumnus of IIT Madras and Stanford University, and I worked in the corporate sector. I was a good engineer. I was really interested in what I was doing. But I felt that working in a large company, I couldn't work on exciting projects. I didn't have any control over what I was expected to do, or I couldn't do anything creative. I think what I really wanted to do, this was roughly in the year 2012, was I wanted to have a higher degree of control over what I wanted to do, and I wanted to work on something more creative, maybe in product management or something. Yeah, in the automotive sector, not in the IT sector. Okay. So that was round about the time when I took my GMAT. I got my 770, and then I got into the Stanford Sloan Fellows program, which is now called the MSX. I think it's the executive program at Stanford. The decision was released early in January 2013, but just a little before that, I had decided that I wouldn't be going down that road. So due to a few circumstances, I couldn't take it up. But Jan 2013 is also when we started August Academy, right? So we are going to be 10 years old in another 2 months. So that's a milestone. I really didn't think that we would get to when we started all those years back. But now that I think about it, I'm really happy. We worked with a lot of very, very talented candidates, and I'm hoping that we can work with some of you as well, either this year or in the years to come. What have we done for our candidates? A lot of them have gotten into schools ranked in the top 20 worldwide. So we've had admits from Harvard, Chicago Booth, Kellogg, MIT, Columbia Haas, Tuck, Darden, Ross. Pretty much every school in the top 10 in the US except two, which is Stanford and Wharton. We've had interviews from these schools, but we've not cracked that barrier yet. So that's something that we still have to work towards. In Europe, we've had our candidates get into all top 5. That's INSEAD, London Business School, IMD, HEC, Oxford, Cambridge, and also the Spanish schools, IE, IAS, SAD. In Asia, we've had people getting into Singapore, NUS, NTU, SMU very recently, Hong Kong, University of Science and Technology, HKUST, and SEEBS also. And within India, of course, every year we have people getting into ISB. And depending on whether or not we put in applications, we get in admits from IIM A's, B's, and C's as well. This for the executive programs, right? So every major territory, all the top schools, very good scholarships. On average, we receive about $1 million in scholarships every year. This year, we've already started our account. We had somebody get into Darden. We had somebody get into Columbia. We had somebody get into get an interview from London Business School. So it's still pending, right? The results. Cornell and SMU, like I just told you. And then a few other results are just coming in. And all the top schools have yet to release their results. So that's where we are. And we hope that we can work with some of you in the days to come. That I'm going to open up the floor to questions. Please give me a very short introduction and then let me know what you want clarity on, and then I'll try my best to answer them for you. And if you don't mind, I'm going to continue having my team. Go for it, guys.
Sure, I'll go first.
Akshay, how are you?
Hi. Yeah, I reached out to you over email. I think I sent you a copy of my resume sometime 2 days back, I guess. Anyway, if in case you've forgotten about it, I'll just give a very small introduction to myself. I work as a data scientist in a tech company. I've been working here for the last 4.5 years.
Okay.
And I have a GMAT score of about 720.
Okay, very good.
Right. Now, the thing is, I have had a few people tell me that my profile right now is not competitive for the top 20 schools, right? And let's say my target schools are in the top 15 to top 20 category, right? Like Pepper, Foster, and McCombs, right? So I have a month for R2 deadlines, I think, January 5th or 6th, right? And I'm just thinking if I should apply with this score. And if I were to give the GMAT again in January and see a score improvement then, would that be accepted by the AdComs?
Yeah, that should be okay. Just don't delay your GMAT so far that they've already made their decision, right? So let's say the deadlines are on the 5th of January, try to get it to them by Republic Day, 26th of January.
26th of Jan. Okay.
Yeah, 25th, right? Like 20 days after the deadline. After that, you know, I mean, if they've already released their interview deadline, invitations and whatnot, and you're left behind, you're actually in a zone where the new score will not make any difference, right? So you don't want to waste that score.
Got it. But you would still encourage me to apply, right?
No, I'm just telling you it's possible for you to update it.
Okay.
Applying or not is your choice.
Got it.
Yeah, that's entirely your choice. If you're very confident that you're going to improve your score, then I would encourage you to apply.
I came really close, so that's why I was just thinking about it. I was probably like 20 points away from what I was targeting. So I'm just in two minds about it.
See, I mean, I can't make any solid comments because I don't know what kind of a student you are, all right? But I will tell you about the kind of comments I receive from my end, right, as a counselor, right? If 100 people reach out to me, you can be guaranteed that about 80, 90 of them tell me that they're targeting 740, right? And the reality is the 740 is probably like a 97, 98 percentile score, which means of the 100 people, only 2 or 3 are actually going to get it, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know which 2 of these people will get it, right? That is where my uncertainty lies. But I do know for sure that all the 80 people who tell me they're going to get 740 will not get the 740, right? I mean, because it's, you know, essentially it's a 97 percentile score. So be very realistic, okay? It's not about what you are targeting. It's more about what you think you're capable of achieving, right? So there's a slight difference. I mean, of course, you're targeting the best score out there, but have a realistic assessment, right? Think about what other exams you've taken. You know, I mean, if you've taken the JEE and you scored in the top 10,000, 20,000 or whatever, you know, that's the equivalent of a 98 percentile score there. If you've taken a CAT before and you actually have a 98 on record, then, you know, I don't see any reason why you can't get the 98 anymore, right? 98 once more, rather. Yeah. But if you actually took the CAT and you got a 70 percentile score on that, I don't think it's going to change to a 98 percentile score on the GMAT, right? It can become an 85 at best. So just go through your previous track record. And of course, I mean, this is assuming you prepared for the CAT and you took it. If you just walked into the test center and you took it and you got a 70, you know, that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, you can still prepare and change the whole thing. So evaluate yourself very carefully. And if you believe there's good odds of improving your score, then I would encourage you to apply right now and update the score later. If you're uncertain, then I would leave it up to you as your choice.
Got it. So just a smaller follow-up question here. With the kind of, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at my profile extensively, but with the kind of profile and the background that, you know, most Indian engineers apply with to, you know, these schools that I just mentioned, do you think it's more of, it would be disadvantageous if I were to, like, let's say, apply this year, get a reject, and let's say become a reapplicant in the next cycle?
No, becoming a reapplicant is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to show some sort of a difference between this year and next year in order to be considered more possibly next year compared to this year. And often for an Indian candidate with a very standard background, the single most useful factor that they can change in their profiles is the GMAT. I know that schools and maybe even consultants say that the GMAT is not all that matters, and then they look at the whole profile and all that. But it so turns out that a lot of Indian candidates have very good profiles and very similar profiles too. So in such a situation, the score makes a difference. But yeah, if you can improve your score and apply next year, then you will be considered positively. There's nothing to worry about.
Got it. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks a lot, Karthik.
Yeah, definitely, Akshay. Yeah. Guys, if somebody else has a question, I'm happy to take that.
Yeah. Hi, Karthik.
Rajesh, I think Srija actually wanted to ask a question even before. It says that she wasn't quick to speak. Srija, hi, how are you?
Thank you so much, for the opportunity. Good, sir. Thank you. So I finished my bachelor's in 21 from SRM. My academics have been consistently good from 10th. It's 9.34 in bachelor's. So that is about the academics. And my GRE score is 330. And one question I wanted to ask is, I lost all 10 points in verbal. So would that affect, should I consider improving the verbal part? And after my bachelor's, I started working on my own startup. So another question is like, does the startup experience, like, what do they look at people who run their own startups, or is it an advantage, or what will it pull the profile down or something like that? And coming to extracurriculars, I've been active in public speaking, joining firms like Toastmasters, and I'm part of organizations like TIE, which are entrepreneur communities. And in college activities too, I've been part of clubs which had a blend of technical and non-tech backgrounds. So this is about my background, sir. Actually, there's one more question. Thing is, in my final year, I got into through the deferred admission, I got into Darden and ISB. And I was rejected after taking interview at Booth.
Okay.
So it was a constant is that had I given the interview well, I had gotten in Booth. So should I consider applying for M7 1.5 years from now? That is in 24 intake.
So you're applying next year for the 24 intake, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, Srija, thanks. I think you've done very well so far. I think both the results that you have, the Darden admit and the ISB admit, are great. And in the worst case scenario, you get to study in one of the two top colleges. One is the best college in India, and one is one of the best colleges in the US and worldwide. Yeah. So either way, I think you've set the floor very clearly, and you can't do worse than that. So I think that's definitely a great place to be in. And from this point, I would rather encourage you to actually increase your GRE a little bit. Not to say your GRE needs improvement, 330 is great, but hey, what are you going to do for the next 1 year, right? And you think there is room for improvement in the verbal, so just give it a shot. I mean, if you improve by 2-3 points, then that's great. If you don't, then you apply with the 330 itself. So that's on the one side, okay? Then with regards to your startup, I think we'll need to get into a one-on-one discussion to sort of understand what the company is about. But in general, I think running your own business is a good thing, and it can show that you take initiative, and especially if you manage to, I don't know, like turn around a profit or acquire a certain set of customers, or if you can show any vanity metrics like that, I think that would be even better, right?
Yes.
So that's on the one side. If there's a technology component to it, that would be great as well. Yeah. You said you're a member of TIE Chennai. I'm a member of TIE Chennai as well. I do think they offer mentoring. So I would encourage you to, sign up for the mentoring service. I'm also a mentor with the Seed Spark Network out of Stanford.
Yes, so I'm also part of that program, Stanford Seed Spark, right?
You're a part of that program. Okay. So I'm assuming you're getting mentorship through that as well. So please, I think that's a great program, and please make the best use of it, and just go with whatever your mentor tells you to do, and they will help you grow. Are you part of Seed, or are you part of Seed Spark?
Seed Spark.
Seed Spark. Okay. This current batch, is it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, definitely continue that. And I think there's a pitch fest and all that. So, that'll give you a lot of exposure. And if you end up as one of the top 5 contestants, then, I'm sure people are going to pick you up, and maybe you will even not want to do an MBA because your company is going to scale to great heights. I think that's what you should be targeting with regards to your company. Yeah, so I can only see good things ahead. So be very happy.
And just asking, I've got this feedback previously that international exposure would help. In this case, should I even consider that, or should I focus on building startup?
If your startup is receiving traction, I would ask you to build the startup. If it is still in experimental stage and you are likely to get out of it at some point in the near future, then yes, look for a very nice corporate opportunity. And there, if you can find something with an international exposure, all the better for you. But again, this is mostly for Europe. For the US, I think international exposure is just a nice to have, but not a must have.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yes.
Rajesh, go for it.
Hi, Karthik. Good evening. So I just have one simple doubt, Karthik. I've already been a part of your sessions a week or 2 weeks back. So I'm actually applying for round 2, Karthik. And my only question was, so will it make a difference if I apply in the beginning of January? Let's just say for both the deadline was on January 5th. So if I apply by December 25th or on January 1st or 2nd, is it going to make a lot of difference?
No.
Because right now it's not, right?
No.
Oh, okay, Karthik. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
That was the only question. Thank you.
It was a very straightforward question, and
Yes,
was a very straightforward answer.
Because I'm actually planning to shift to other consultancy, Karthik. Right now, it's okay what I've experienced till now, but I just feel that it's not up to the mark. I have 740 in my GMAT, but I just don't get the confidence with my essays, whatever I have been working on for the past 1 month. I'm not totally okay with it to apply with those essays. So I'm planning to make a shift to a different consultancy. Probably I'll get in touch with you or in something else, because I hardly have 1 month and it's a lot of work up right now. So anyway.
Just for anybody who's watching this on YouTube, because you made this, I had to give a disclaimer. Rajesh is not currently working with us, so the consultant is not happy with is not us.
No, sorry. Yeah.
He is considering working with us, though. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So anyway, I was also disappointed by giving you a very short and sweet answer. So let me just elaborate on that a little bit for your question. Okay. Wherever they say rolling admissions, it makes a difference whether you apply early or late. All right. So just to give you an example, Columbia has rolling admissions. So for Columbia, the earlier you apply, the earlier you get your result. And that makes a huge difference. Okay. I believe NUS may also be working on a rolling scheme this year. That wasn't always the case, but this year they may have changed it. So again, for NUS also, it may make a difference if you apply earlier rather than later. Okay. This year, I had somebody who applied to Tepper in R1. He applied about a few days before the deadline. He actually got an interview invite even before the deadline was over. But Tepper is not rolling. Tepper is still deadline based. So they are going to release the final decision only after considering all the other applications from all other candidates. Okay. Very simply put, rolling means they don't have to wait for all the applications to come in before evaluating and taking a call on your application. Whereas deadline-based applications means whether or not they take a call, invite you for interview earlier or later, they are not going to offer you an end result, which is an admit or deny wait list, till they've looked at all the applications that have come into that round. Okay. So Tepper is in that category. Even though he got the interview invite very, very early, the final result is going to come in sync with everybody else. Okay. So for Columbia, for NUS, apparently this year, it's rolling. So earlier the better. But for both, as far as I know, it's deadline based. So you can apply a day before the deadline and still okay. Don't push it to the last minute because, IT systems hang up all the time. That's not in our control. That's not in the university's control. So you don't want to get it stuck in a messy situation like that. That's about it. Yeah, but other than that, you can stretch it.
Karthik, thank you so much. Just a minute, if you don't mind. I just have one small follow-up question for that. after what you have briefed out on the application process. So Karthik, for example, if you take Tepper, I'm planning to apply to Tepper as well. So I have a 740 in my GMAT, and then the application process is like, for most of the top colleges right now, they are asking for video essays apart from the statement of purpose or the for example, if it's for Tepper for 2023, they're asking for an environment where we have created or we have experienced in the organization we are associated with. So I'm just giving an example. So apart from that, there are video essays as well. So does this whole application process takes place at one shot? Like once I submit the essay, do I have to submit the video essays immediately on the same day, or will there be any specific timeline that I would be provided with? And the other question is, so like you said, not pushing to the last minute, but let's just say by December 25th or before January I'll be applying, and the deadline is on Jan 5th. So we'll be having specific dates for getting the interview call, or it just happens whenever they find it apt for them. Like that was the question. Thank you.
Yeah, on the video essays, there are two kinds of video essays, very broadly speaking. The first kind of video essay is where they publish the question way beforehand, and they ask you to record a response and submit a YouTube link. Okay. Here, the control is completely within your hands. So you can record the video whenever you want, upload it to YouTube, and provide them with a link. It's as simple as that. YouTube, and then maybe there's like 2 or 3 other hosting sites that they are okay with. Yeah. The other one is the impromptu video interview, where they actually provide you with a link to a website called Kira. And there, there's an automated system where they have a pool of questions, and then they would pick about 2 or 3 questions to ask you, and then you would be given about 30 seconds to prepare and about 1 to 2 minutes to record your answers. So that happens on the spot. Now, for the Kira interview, typically they give you about a week's time after you submit your application, right? But don't wait a week, submit it in a day or 2. It's not that difficult. It's very straightforward. Okay, so those are the 2 different kinds of video interviews. Now, MECOMS is interesting. This year, apparently, they've changed their process. So MECOMS is not inviting anybody for a real interview anymore. By real, I mean with the person in live mode, right? So MECOMS is just going to give people a video interview, and then that's about it. So whatever you get on Kira for MECOMS is everything you have. You won't get an interview invite. Don't panic. That's the new process, right? Now, wait, there was the other question that you had, right? What was it, Rajesh?
That's what, Karthik. The application, for example, I submitted on 25th. Let's say Akshay submitted on January 1st. So
the interviews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some colleges like Harvard which actually have specified certain dates on which they're going to release interview invites. And if you don't get an invite on that day, that means you've been denied or, at best waitlisted. Okay. But a lot of top 20 colleges actually have a rolling decision and invitation procedure, which means they can actually call you to interview up to a week before the final deadline. So it really, so the colleges which will release interview invitations on the same day, they'll communicate with you by email, and that'll be very clear. But most colleges, they just keep inviting again and again. So there's nothing to worry about or panic about.
Thank you, Karthik. It was really helpful. Thanks a lot.
Sure. All right. I think Rohan's also been on the call. Rohan, are you with us? Do you have any questions?
Hi, Karthik. Yes.
Hi, Rohan.
Hi. Just a quick background. So, lately I've just decided, to pursue MBA. I'm a little late in the game, quite late.
Okay.
I recently was working in Amex, and I was, in global procurement over there. And then recently I started, to go to join my family business. So I'm just saying, like, how would my profile shape out? I was just, maybe we need to connect further. But yeah, my GMAT is booked for 28 December. I'm targeting a 740. Let's see what happens. But yeah, seeing that I'm late in the game, round 2, I don't think I'll be able to make round 2 anyways. What would you suggest, in this situation? but I'm planning to apply this year at least. Take an experience because now it's in my head. Yeah, and I'm targeting European or UK schools, so LBS, HEC, NUS, summation, not America.
Okay.
North America for now. Yeah.
Okay. How many years of work experience you have, Rohan?
I have about 6 now. Yeah, six and a half.
Okay, that's a good place to be in. Typically, if you look at most classes across the world, the average work experience is around 5 years at the time of enrollment.
Yeah.
So if you apply this year, given that you already have 6, you'll have 7 at the time of enrollment. If you apply next year, at the time of enrollment, you'll have 8. 8 is pushing it, but it's not all that bad. It's still okay. Yeah, and especially if you get some very good experience at your family business, then I think you stand to gain rather than lose.
Yeah.
But definitely don't push it beyond next year, meaning applying in 2023 for the 24 intake. So that's like your last effort, right? So keep that in mind. Now, with regards to whether or not you should apply this year, yeah, and see, I mean, it all depends, right? I mean, if you work with a consultant like me, we have our own process, and then the kind of time commitment I'm making people who want to sign up at this point is, we are already at the end of November, beginning of December. Deadlines are around the 5th of Jan. And if you are targeting deadlines around the 5th of Jan, then maybe we can look at 2 colleges. That's if you start like within the next 2-3 days, right? Obviously, if somebody starts after the 20th, then I would be able to make a commitment of, I don't know, around 1 college for Jan 5. Of course, if we have later deadlines, that's always up for grabs. That's not an issue. But since most of the deadlines are clustered around the 5th of Jan, that's the kind of commitment I would make for that particular date, right? I don't know what other consultants do. I don't know what processes they have, and I don't know what kind of timelines they work with. But that's something that you need to check up. When you put in your applications by yourself and you're working on your essays yourself, you only know how much time you need to write. Yeah? I know I write really fast, so I can turn like 500 words in 10 minutes or something. I am also a very last minute guy. If I were to do the application for myself for a Jan 5 deadline, even for 5 colleges, I'll start after Christmas. Okay. But that's only the execution part. There's a lot of homework that I would have done in the days up, like attending webinars, if possible, attending college events. I think they have these MBA tours and all that coming up. They were coming up, at least. I would have attended all those. I would have talked to students. These are all things I would have done in the months prior.
So I've shortlisted my colleges, based on entrepreneurship as much as I could and my future goals, So I've done that because bit of homework, diligence. I'm just like hesitant on applying because, I'm prepared for GMAT so late and it's like been there. So I'm just contingent on that definitely would need a consultant because I'm so late. And, even my experience, I started out of college, in a startup. So I founded a startup, then that went down. Then I went to the corporate world and now I'm shifting again to entrepreneurship. So it's been so haywire. So definitely, to bring out the plus points, I'll need somebody to guide me further. But yeah, I would like to apply this year. As you mentioned. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can connect offline. I think further we might need like a longer discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
By all means, let me know. Send me an email, then we can take it up forward from there. Does anybody have any final questions before I just walk you through the next steps?
I actually have one question.
Yes, actually, go for it. Yeah.
Right. So the thing is, I've been working with startups mostly. Like the place where I'm working now is a startup. I work at Dunzo, by the way, if you use the services. And the one before that was also a startup. Now, I don't really have a lot of international exposure, so to speak. Not any, to be honest. And there's a lot of, a few of the applications that I'm looking at have this, a DEI component to it, inclusivity and, the rest. So I don't really know how to approach this particular part in the essay because there isn't a lot of inclusivity related opportunities that I might have taken up at work or any of these experiences that I've gone through. So how would you suggest someone in such a position to tackle an essay component that talks about this?
Okay. See, I don't think DEI necessarily has to do with international experience by any means, right?
Okay.
We face issues of DEI around us all the time. So, just look around you and I'm sure you'll find examples, right? What can I think about that's not very controversial? So DEI is a very controversial subject, just to start off with, because most examples like what our caste and community system that we have in India, everywhere. Right? That's a DEI issue, right? Because even though we may not like to admit it, I think over the last few hundred years, members of certain communities have not been given the opportunities that they have, that others have, right? Now, if we start talking about it, that's going to become very controversial, but that's a DEI issue right there. I think nowadays people are more comfortable coming out as LGBT and whatnot. I don't know if anybody in your friend circle came out, right? I mean, those are some DEI issues. I mean, something as straightforward as women not getting the same opportunities as men, at home, at the workplace, at college, that could be a DEI issue, right? So DEI issues are all around us, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to mean that, hey, what, Japanese fans cleaned up the stadium and that's like awesome.
Got it.
I'm going to do that the next time I go to the 1K day or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be like that.
Sure, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just take about 5 minutes to talk about the way forward, right? In case you guys want to work with us, please reach out to me. Let's have a one-to-one call. We charge 2,000 rupees for a one-to-one call, but then when you sign up, we will subtract it. This is only because we don't have the bandwidth to take up a lot of calls, especially at this point in time. But other than that, there's no particular reason for this. Why do we still have the call? Because it's not about necessarily me understanding your profile or you understanding how I work, because I'm going to tell you how I work right now. It's more to just talk to each other and understand if the chemistry works. Okay. So it's a relationship where, you need to trust me to share your stories with me, and I need to make you comfortable so that you are in that trustworthy space, right? So it's all about chemistry, nothing more. Other than that, you can work with any consultant who you feel that chemistry with. I think that's the way it is. So I think having that call is definitely useful, and I would encourage you to reach out to me, and then we can take that forward. But once you start working with us, our process is very straightforward. I would need some background information from you, all right? So I'll share some questions and I'll ask you to write down some answers to those questions. And in a normal world, I know because Srija is probably going to start much later. At that point, if somebody starts in, let's say, March or April, they can take up to 20 days to write down responses for that. But somebody who starts in a very, very critical juncture, like where we are right now, should finish it in about 2 or 3 days. Okay. So what's it about? It's just stories from your life. What kind of work do you do? What are your major accomplishments? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Do you have any idea about what your career goals should be? So I will help you with your career goals, but I'm just asking you straight off the bat if you already have any information as to what you want to do, right? Based on what you think you're good at. And sometimes your intuition may actually be right? So I'm just going to put the ball in your court and ask you to serve first. That's about it. But we'll always have a rally, and then we'll figure out what's the best way to go forward. So don't worry about that. If you're wrong off the gate, then we have opportunity to correct it. So after you've written down your responses, then we'll come up with a shortlist based on your profile. Your GMAT score becomes a very important component of the shortlist, all right? Now, based on the GMAT, I see that there's certain ranges of schools that work for Indian candidates. And if your profile is very strong, you typically end up in the higher end of that range in terms of rankings. If your profile is a little weak, you may end up in the lower end of that range. So typically that's how that works. Very, very rarely your profile may be so good that you just leave the range altogether and then you move to the next highest range. Okay, so that also happens, but that requires something very, very superlative, right? That's like a 1% kind of thing. 99% of the applicants will have very good profiles, but about the same, more or less. Yeah. So welcome, right? So that said, after the shortlist is over, we move on to the application phase. We'll help you with 3 components: the essays, the letters of recommendation, and the resume. So before we get into all that, in our comprehensive package, we have a limit of 1 brainstorming call per college. And that's what we are taking applications for right now, the comprehensive package. We also have something called the ultra package. This is more for people who start much earlier in the process, where we don't have any limits on the number of calls, but we have a soft limit of 1 per week, right? At this point, anybody who signs up with us in December, it really doesn't make a difference if you're going to sign up for ultra or shortlisting, but we are going to charge more for the ultra, which is why I'm saying, might as well sign up for the comprehensive. Okay, we have only 4 weeks, which means we'll only have 4 calls on the ultra. And in a 3-school comprehensive, we'll have a 4-call package anyway. Okay. So we'll set up that brainstorming call. And then in that brainstorming call, we'll discuss your life stories, right? And we'll also look at what kind of essay questions are being asked. So, I think, first of all, DEI, there are 3 different things. They're not even the same thing, right? Diversity is different, equity is different, and inclusion is different. So a lot of colleges seem to be asking questions on DEI nowadays, right? So I'm just going to use that as an example. Okay, tell me about a time when you interacted with somebody from a different point of view. So I'll tell you a very interesting story, actually, because you asked, right? About 2 years ago, there was a question which did not use the words diversity, equity, or inclusion in it, but the question went along the lines of, tell me about a time that you encounter a different point of view and how did you respond to that, right? So my candidate didn't really have any, in fact, this was somebody who grew up in the US. He was of Indian origin, he grew up in the US, right? But in spite of that, you could think that he had all the international experience he could have wanted, right? But in spite of that, he wasn't able to come up with something. And finally, the story that we wrote, he actually got into Darden and I think also Yale. The story that we wrote was this. He comes back to India for his vacations. It's COVID time. And his grandmother's tenants, who are small businesses, are refusing to pay rent, citing COVID, right? So this guy, being American in upbringing, wants them evicted or thinks that's the right way to do things. Grandmom, being somebody who spent the last 60, 70 years in India, with a very Indian mindset, she thinks that, hey, you know what? These guys have been my tenants for the last 7, 8 years. They've been very prompt so far. And it's not like if I vacate them, I'm going to take somebody new anyway. So I might as well wait with them through COVID. It's okay if they don't pay me, they'll pay me all this while. And they can pay me later, right? And this was really the different point of view, right? I mean, there was this guy who was born in India but grew up in the US. There was a grandmom who was much older, so the age was different, and the mindset was different because they had different upbringings, but they were actually part of the same family, And this was what we wrote for his diversity essay, and yeah, he got in. So I think what I'm trying to tell you here is, these are the kind of discussions we'll have in the brainstorming call. And then based on that, we'll come up with something that is presentable. And towards the end of our brainstorming call, I will help you put together a bullet point structure for what your essay should look like, right? And then we close the call, you write an essay and then you share the draft with me. Typically, nothing very creative is expected. If you just execute and write as per the structure, whatever is a bullet point, if you make it a paragraph, that essay should be ready. But there are some hiccups here and there. So we'll go through an edit process. I'll give you my comments on how you can improve, and then you send me another draft back and get it right. My turnaround time is 2 to 3 days. I've been very good at keeping to it so far, even through the R1 deadlines. I cannot make the same guarantee in the last 10 days of the year when a lot of deadlines will come up together. but I'll try my best, right? So 2 to 3 days, worst case, you add another day. So that's what we are expecting after Christmas. And yeah, I mean, if you add up the timelines, for you to, let's say, get started, if it takes you a day or two to get started, that's end of November, beginning of December. Let's say we finish our shortlist by around the 5th or 7th of December. The first college may take around 13 days. The second college may take around 10 days or so. So by the end of December, we are at 2 colleges. And then, we have another college with the deadline around the 10th, then we may be able to make the 3rd college. So that's the kind of timelines that may be doable. Again, it depends on whether you're a good writer or not. Those are some points of view that we need to consider. But broadly, I think for the average applicant, these are the kind of commitments that we make. In terms of pricing, I'll be upfront. Our 3-school comprehensive package, we charge 1,95,000 plus GST. GST is at 18%. And our 5-school comprehensive, we charge 250 plus GST, again 18%. In addition to the number of schools, there's another difference between the packages, which is we have mock interviews in the 5-school package. There's 2 mock interviews included. In the 3-school package, it's not there by default. We charge extra for it. So those are the comprehensive packages, right? The ultras, we charge a little bit more, and then we actually offer more calls and all that. We don't ask people to choose one over the other. You choose whatever you feel you want. But right now, I think whether it's the comprehensive or the ultra, we have just about the same time, and you probably spend the same amount of time on the phone anyway. So you might as well go comprehensive. So yeah, I mean, provided you want to take this up further, please send me an email, and then we can have the one-to-one call, and then go forward from there. Any final questions, guys, before we close for the day? Okay. I'm going to assume that, Akshay, do I see a question coming up?
No. I was just
Okay.
thanking you for taking out your time to explain.
Definitely. Thanks for attending. It's not a great session if I don't have participants. So, I think you guys are just as important as, me taking out the time or whatever. So definitely thanks for attending. I enjoyed talking to all of you, and, whenever you're ready, please reach out, and then we can take it up further.
Sure.
Thank you,
Will do.
Karthik.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.